Well, hello! It's time for another exciting episode of Pens in Use. This is the show where I talk about the fountain pens and inks that I'll be using throughout the week, or did use throughout the week. Holy cow, I got off my script there. And I am hoping that this week's is debacle-free, because holy cow, last week's was disaster after disaster. And I almost didn't publish it. I just thought, yeah, let's just throw this one away and pretend I forgot to do Pens in Use this week. But I published it anyway. And I think it brought up some good discussion, even though I was feeling pretty miserable by the end of that one. But anyway, I have some exciting news. I have a little experiment to try. I did find one more pen, unfortunately less replaceable, damaged by that disinfectant. And apparently the new pen trays will be here tomorrow, so you shouldn't have to have the green tray after this week. And I just want to mention in the writing sample, I forgot to switch the microphone to the Blue Yeti because that's what I use for audio. So I'm going to see if the laptop's microphone or the camcorder's microphone is better. Generally, the camcorder does okay audio. Not great, but okay. This camera, oh hell no. And yeah, I filmed the writing sample first, so I know what's about to happen. So, let's dive into the pens. Alright, so the pens I'll be using this week are the Reform 4383, Reform 1745, Monte Rosa Turquoise, Cora, Waterman Carene, Lamy 2000, Pelikan Stola 3, Wahl-Eversharp Skyline 50, Sheaffer Legacy 2, Aurora 88, and a Pelikan M1000. I have two other pens here that I'm going to talk about more at the end of the video. As has become the new custom since my debacle last week, we'll be using a seafood-flavored cognitive surplus notebook. I'll just mention I'm still on the green tray there because the new trays, because I had to order some more, the new after, again, that debacle of a video last week, the new trays, hopefully, according to the tracking, will arrive tomorrow. So my first pen was a first impression I published this week. It was a day late because, well, I was using the computer to make some school videos because my computer's faster than the school computer to do it. And yeah, that meant I can't do my videos. They were filmed, just couldn't put them together. So bad planning. But I got it up. This is a Reform 4383. What's interesting is it has triangular finials. Now that doesn't mean much. I mean, the barrel is a standard round barrel. The cap turns narrow. It has, well, you can't see it here really, but segmented ink windows. Has a branded Reform nib. And I'll just mention in the video, I was very meh during the writing sample. In fact, I think I ended on that word, meh, because meh, it really didn't do much for me. But then I set it aside for a few days and started writing with it again. Just give it another chance, and oh my god, it was fun! So I don't know if it needed a few days to saturate. I noticed when I inked it up again this week, it was a very hard starter at first, and it wasn't till I, it had to sit for a while till it started writing right. So make of that what you will. Oops. That one I think is my fault. I think I spread the tines too wide. By the way, and that may be part of the problem too, is maybe the tines, because it just wants to go bring, and the ink in this is Noodler's Purple Mountain Majesties. See, it was fine there. oops. I have Chris Sains to thank for this ink. I really, ooh, now we don't want to write all of a sudden. I really had no interest in further inks. In fact, I still don't. This is probably the most recent bottle of ink that I bought. Was Noodler's Purple Mountain Majesties. And that has been, well, it was 2019. It just was a beautiful color. I really hope, now I'm using this camcorder so I have less control over settings than I would if I was taking a photograph with my Canon 5D Mark II that I use for all my photography. But anyway, just a beautiful, beautiful purple. I don't know if it replaces Black Swan and Australian Rose for me, but it's trying. I'm also experimenting, which you may see from time to time. I've got over here. My laptop is hooked to the microphone, so I thought, well, what if I record my face every so often? Somebody recently this week, I think it was Pens and Tea, was talking about how they don't like how people disappear and all you see is the pen. So I thought it might be something to try. I don't know. I mean, it's there. It's free. It's not me setting up an extra camera. My next pen actually came out of the comments on this pen. Somebody mentioned that they're looking at one of these. This is a Reform 1745. This is a student pen. This pen had the same problem, and I don't remember if this is a thing I noticed before, but holy cow, part of the reason I delayed filming, because like I said, this was just ink. This was not really a pen in use yet. It was more inked up as a reaction to one of the comments here. This really did not want to start writing. Finally, what I did is I dipped it in ink, and seems to have done the trick. Nice steel nib pen. The ink in it is Rohrer and Klingner. Something on my desk is ticking as I write, and I don't like it. And it's still ticking. Doggone it. So it's a nice bright yellow color, but it's dark enough to be usable and legible. Let's just try this. Well, you can sort of see me better. I don't know. Is it worth it? Hey, that's too low. I feel like part of my head's getting cut off. I can't really see my preview that well from here, so take it for what it's worth. My next pen is a Monte Rosa. My next pen is a Monte Rosa Turquoise. Now, I had that debacle last week, and I bring this pen up because I thought it was just limited to that Pilot Custom 823. This is what makes me pretty sure about the chemical, because this one was laying here there too. I didn't notice this last week when I did pens in use. So has this developed since then or what? So I'll be experimenting with some crack sealing soon. But I haven't emptied the pen out yet. And you know, that's to the cap rather than the body of the pen, so that gives me some hope. But yeah, it really tells me it's a cautionary tale. Don't leave disinfectant near your plastics. I thought it was only the Pilot Custom 823. That pen is replaceable. This one really is not, so I'll probably clean it out and really think about it before I try to repair this. I may even have a professional repair it, I'm not sure. Looking at the other pens that were there, I don't see anything else. Because I went over them, like this pen was at one end of the tray, it wasn't in the puddle, but I see no damage to the plastic. Second. This pen was there, but again, I don't see any damage to the plastic, but it wasn't sitting in that area. This pen, I don't think this pen was actually laying on the tray yet, but whether it was or not, no damage to the plastic. And this one, no damage to the plastic. And I haven't noticed damage to the plastic in any of the other, or any parts in any of the other pens there. So for whatever that's worth, but it is a lesson to me, like I said, be more careful. I didn't drop the pens, I didn't do anything stupid other than set a bottle of disinfectant down and be too lazy to put it back where it came from. So it tipped over. Probably I bumped it. One thing that makes me suspect chemical damage, I didn't notice this last week, and maybe this is a new development, but this is the cap to the Pilot Custom 823. You can see that white cloudiness. I noticed that as I was cleaning the ink out of the pen. That doesn't come from being dropped. That's a chemical deal. So this damage to this Pilot Custom 823, I am even more certain is chemical in origin. So I got this out again from its storage place. There are some ingredients there that make me suspicious. I haven't researched, organic chemistry is not something I know very well, but those just, you know, when you see stuff like ammonia, you see some of this alcohols, plastics don't like some of that stuff. So on a happier note, let's look at a pen that was nowhere near the debacle. I haven't had this pen inked in a while. This is just one of those slim, well, gray pens that I like. This is a Dutch pen. It's a Cora. Sure doesn't look like much. Has its own nib. It's not a Bach nib. I don't know quite what that is. It looks sort of like a lion on the nib. And I'm not lying. But this is a Cora. The ink in it is actually, when I bought this Aurora 88, which was another pen in use that week, but thank God avoided damage. It wasn't sitting on the tray either, so that may be part of why. But when I bought it, I think I told the story, it was a little late, a lot late. So it's probably because of that I was sent this. Because I didn't order it. Like I said, I didn't want any new ink. If they would have asked me, I would have said no. But I've got it. So it's this Aurora purple ink. So that was an education to me because I didn't know Aurora made any other colors. I thought it was blue and black, and then they went crazy just recently and introduced blue-black. Well, apparently they've got a whole line of colors out now. What do I feel about this purple? I'm honestly not that excited about it one way or the other. But it was a nice gesture from the retailer to include it, so there you go. This pen was inked up last week. I don't think it was on the tray, and if it was, it's got a much hardier finish. We have this lacquer over a metal body. This is a Waterman Carene. I managed to find a broad nib for it, which was a bit of a search, but I was really happy to find it. And the ink in it is Diamine Autumn Oak. Since we've had 2 freezes here this week, in the 20s, I think autumn is here. Just saying. And of course, if you're expecting another gardening video, there isn't much garden left to video because it's all frozen, and one of my projects for tomorrow is going to be cleaning it out. Now, one thing that's been interesting, for whatever reason, and this wasn't on the tray either because it wasn't one of the plant pens in use, although now I'm kind of curious what that cleaner would do to macrolon. Okay, I'm bad. Now that science teacher's coming out in me. But anyway, one thing that's been kind of interesting, this has been my go-to everyday writer pen thing. This is a Lamy 2000, and I really like it. I use it a lot, especially during school. This year I decided to keep all my school pens in a cup at school. I put 5 there, but while I was waiting for this pen to saturate tonight, I put on for a while Stephen Brown's live stream, and one of the things that he was talking about in the part where I was watching is, well, how many pens you keep inked at a time? And he says 4 or 5. It's hard to use more than that, and I'm a bigger number than that. I think the biggest reason is when I write pen pal letters, each page is with a different pen and ink. But at school, what I'm finding is I just use, and this is one of the pens in use tonight, I use this Pelikan Stola, and there's an Aurora, which stowed away tonight, and there's an Aurora style that I use, I really like, because I like to have a contrasting color. In fact, I just corrected some quizzes with the Aurora style. And yeah, so there's 5 pens sitting there. 1 or 2 of them I don't think have even been used once. And I used Waterman Hemisphere with Bay State Blue for something. And, there's a Jin Hao there, maybe? I forget what all's there, which tells you I'm not using them. So I think part of the reason I've always had so many pens inked up is because of the pen pal thing. If I quit doing pen pal letters, or just quit doing fancy inks on them, then I probably be the end of this show because I wouldn't have as many pens inked up. So I better keep writing to pen pals, and which reminds me I'm behind on that. All right, so the Lamy 2000 is just wonderful shape. And the ink in it, of course, is Pelikan Black. Interestingly, I have refilled the Stola once or twice. I've kind of forgotten now. This I haven't refilled once since school started. Admittedly, it has been a busy few weeks. Oops, I almost wrote brilliant twice. So maybe that's why. But it's kind of an eye into my usage of this pen. Actually, that's been an interesting experiment, having the school pens and the home pens. Learning what I actually use at school, I think I needed to see that. I'm kind of thinking I've got a, well, it was for a student giveaway I did a year or 2 ago. I've got a bottle of Pelikan and when I say bottle, I don't mean a bottle like this. A liter bottle of Pelikan 4001 Brilliant Black. And this actually doesn't contain that. This now contains the Royal Blue. And I've got the full liter bottle at school. So I'm kind of thinking maybe those will just be my inks at school. Take the rest of the pens home? I don't know. Or do I want to go back to carrying pens back and forth? But it's just been interesting to see that use case that, in school I don't do fun writing. I'll take notes at meetings and things. I correct papers. So I need black for the notes, and I need another contrasting color for highlights or notes in the notes. I like that same contrasting color if I want to... it's almost 8 o'clock, so I'm like, woohoo! But I like that contrasting color for correcting papers and highlighting a little. I'm not much of a highlighter. But maybe that's all I need. And maybe Pelikan Royal Blue isn't the right color because students can make that color and it doesn't stand out on their papers. So, I don't know. Something to think about. So my next pen is a Pelikan Stola 3. As I said, this is kind of taken over for the Lamy 2000 at school. And it turns out it's a very nice writer. I don't know if there's much criticism of Pelikan out there, but they make some nice pens. Even at the lower end like this. This really is a nice pen. One thing I'm suddenly realizing as I do this, the pages in the old Bomo art journal were not as wide, but they were just as long. And I must be taking up more space because I'm not sure if I'm going to fit all these pens on this page. The next pen is a Wahl-Eversharp Skyline 50. You saw its older brother there that didn't get damaged, like this didn't get damaged. I really like the older one. This one is okay. This one is a good example of oops, we may be out of ink. How do I tell? Well, mostly because it can't write. One of the faults with this pen is you can't see the converter. I mean, you can't check the ink level. But let's just, let me encourage it with a little bit of paper towel. Okay. Yeah, it was just a hard start. This pen may have been sitting for a few days. But it'll be AHL. Since about Tuesday, I haven't been home much in the evenings. Like, I owe pen pals letters and stuff. Just not getting it done. So, it's no wonder this pen probably dried out. This ink is meant to be one of my easy victories. It's a very small bottle. I just want to reduce the number of bottles of ink in my collection. So I thought if I start with a couple of small bottles, like my Iroshizuku and my Colorverse bottles, and I got 2 or 3 Diamine bottles that are small also, maybe I can have a few quick victories and sort of build up my stamina or enthusiasm for the process of getting rid of ink. And I'm not one who can bring myself quite to just go glug, glug, glug down the sink. Unless I really hate the ink, but, mostly the bottles I bought I like. So, use them, I guess. Speaking of use, I have this Sheaffer Legacy 2. One thing I thought worth mentioning, when I cleaned it out last time, I found ink around here. And I thought, oh shoot, that's the end of this vintage cartridge. Or converter, sorry. But I have not found that again. But, so I think it was just, I don't know how it got there, but it did. But it did get me thinking, how do I keep this, once that converter wears out or gets a hole in the sack, then what? The modern Sheaffer converters do not fit in this pen. So, something to think about. This one I purchased on a very lucky purchase from Van Ness Pens. They had a few of them in what they call Grandpa's attic or Grandpa's basement or something. You know, they were just old stock that they'd been holding on to and decided to unload. And a few people, when I reviewed it, are like, holy cow, you spent the money. I'm like, well, I mean, it wasn't cheap, but it wasn't that expensive. And then I started searching eBay and things like that, and just the pen is like, oh my god. And then you look at the set, and I'm just like, maybe I want to sell it instead of keep it. But I like the pen, so I'm keeping it. Alright, so this, thank God it missed the accident with the disinfectant. Aurora 88 with a Jupiter finish. I had some help from viewers with this ink. This is an Iroshizuku ink. And I mentioned in the video last week that I don't remember what it's called. Sorry, I don't remember what it means. But, you know, it's Iroshizuku, and I'm going to just look at my Evernote page to get the spelling right. Murasaki-shikibu. And some of the websites I looked at after filming that said this meant beauty berry, whatever a beauty berry is. But several in the comments, and I mean more than one when I say several, said that, well, this is a Japanese poet from, I forget the time, but long, long ago, and lady poet to boot. So, kind of interesting. And then when you think, well, beauty berry, they're not going to talk about a male poet as beautiful. So, maybe that berry is named in honor of her. I don't know. Something I need to look up. I need a little more free time. You'd think in a week where I had Labor Day I'd have more free time, but oh no. This was a rough week. And finally we get to my Pelikan M1000, which also happily avoided the debacle of the disinfectant. One thing I've been thinking about lately, I got the medium because, well, the fine was quite a lot more expensive. This is a very broad medium, which I guess if I, knowing about this pen model, that doesn't surprise me. I was surprised. Last time my parents visited me, it was kind of at the height of cucumber season. They didn't visit this year thanks to the virus. But, so I had cucumbers all over the place and learned which I had never known before, that my mother absolutely hates cucumbers. She likes pickles, but she does not like cucumbers, so I don't know what that means, but I just found that interesting that I had never known that about her. So, before I go back to camera A, I just thought I would look at this pen again. Now, I told you that I was going to replace it. Oh, and I did. White box, black box inside it, foam thingy. I hate packaging. Bunch of literature and junk. A bottle of ink that I don't need, but I really like these bottles, so I'll forgive it. And then any attempt to remove the nib neck assembly from the barrel of the pen may result in damage and will void the warranty. The nib neck and plunger should not be unscrewed from the barrel. Any attempt to unscrew the nib neck or plunger from the barrel will result in cracks and will void warranty. Cracks in barrel or cap are not covered under the warranty once the pen has been inked. So the people who told me to send this back, yeah, I didn't unscrew it, I just let it sit in disinfectant. But I did pick up, let's flip it here. I did pick up a Pelikan 823, and I went with a broad nib. My original vision was, now I've got 2 nibs and 2 feeds that I can use. That whole process, like they said, voids the warranty. I thought it was just unscrewing this bit, but apparently doing that, I've just voided the warranty. Whoops. But anywho, I didn't do as good a job cleaning that as I thought either. But anywho, the thought I'm having right now, and this came from a viewer's suggestion. Anyway, their suggestion was, what if we do a little swappage? This is a Wing Sung 699. Now, looking at it, does the Pelikan cap fit? No. So we still have to use the Wing Sung cap. What about the nibs? Well, I had never even considered that because I figured they're too different. So let's just find out right now if they can swap. Okay, didn't clean either pen very well. I was kind of rushing it. Oh, hold still, you. York. So, yeah, very different feeds. But take away the feeds. Like I said, not the best cleaning job in the world. And wow, do those 2 nibs look similar. So I'm going to pause here. I'll be right back. I'm just going to do a quick extra clean. Okay, I'm back. So I really made a mess of my desk, but we'll live. I'm a fountain pen dude. So can I fit? Let's first see if I can fit the pilot feed with the pilot nib, which kind of has a little latch to it, into the Wing Sung. No. Nope. I mean, I could force it, but that just sounds nasty. And then I look at the nibs from this perspective. This isn't looking too hopeful. But let's persevere a bit longer. So if I put it up, ooh. Okay, it will not fit on that wing sung feed. Fits on the pilot feed, but not on the wing sung feed. And we don't even have to get to the nib. The feed itself does not fit in the wing sung. So if I look at them from top down, maybe you can make that out. The pilot feed has a narrower bit at the top. So if I do this, maybe. But the pilot feed is just a teeny bit bigger around. So it did seem like an interesting idea. And maybe I can unscrew this bit, this section from the pilot, if it's not glued in. And can I switch it with this section on the wing sung? So that's one of those adventures that before I embark on it, I'm going to research heavily. Because I think it would be nice if I could just switch barrels and didn't have to switch all the rest. We'll just have to see. Worst case scenario, I've got a spare pilot nib that I can use for something at some point, somewhere, somehow, for some reason. Alright, and we got this little guy. And I had thought I should do a first impression video on it, but then I thought, nah, I want to write with it now. So let's whip it out, and let's just use the ink that came with it. Pilot Blue isn't one of my favorites at all, but now I got some. So we'll stick this bit in, and nothing happened. Well, shit. Shoot, sorry. So we'll try that again. Okay. Maybe I didn't have it in all the way. Maybe the bubbles fooled me, but I got a lot of ink that time. Let's just do it again. Oh, yeah. That's a beautiful fill. You can fill them the whole way. I just don't feel the need to do it tonight. Plus, like I said, Pilot Blue isn't really one of my favorites. My last bottle of Pilot Blue ended up on the floor, splashed up and down my wall. It was a bad scene. So here at the very bottom of the page, we're going to go Pilot. Ooh, started right up. Ooh, I actually kind of like this. It has that Pilot ink smell that I don't care for. Sort of reminds me of dissection fluid. So, not bad ink, I guess, in this pen. But I really like the feel of this nib on this paper. So that fine nib may not see much use. And really, the fine nib saw most of its use in the summer anyway, when I wasn't using my Lamy 2000. So maybe my Lamy 2000 is destined for year-round use. I don't know. So those are the pens and inks that I've been using this week. Let's talk about some other topics. So you got to see some interesting pens there. I'm very sad about that gosh darn it, that Mont Blanc Monte Rosa, but it's not on the pen barrel. So I'm wondering if there is possibly a tiny sliver of hope that I can somehow repair it or get it repaired. We'll find out. And I do have more, and you saw there's more evidence of the chemical damage rather than, well, Wasky Squirrel's just a dumbass and he dropped it. Because, yeah, that frosting doesn't happen because you drop a pen. So, let's set that aside because I might start crying. I'm trying to scroll up here so I don't forget a couple of things. So, Chris Sains was celebrating her, I think, 3-year anniversary on YouTube this week. And she mentioned getting a 16-ounce bottle of Noodler's. I can't remember if she's given away the name of the ink or if we're still supposed to be guessing. She told me, but I can't remember if we're still supposed to be guessing, so I won't say the name of it. But she bought a 16-ounce bottle of Noodler's ink. And hopefully it's a color she likes. Now, most inks, as you saw this one earlier in the video, arrive in measured in milliliters. Noodler's has to run differently. Parker, I think, is measured in ounces, but it's not written on that one. I don't know about Sheaffer. Okay, so this is a little bit better than 1.5 ounces. 16 ounces of ink. I was looking at their selection of inks you could get at Van Ness Pens in 16 ounces. The one that appealed to me the most was Noodler's... somebody's running around without a muffler. The one that appealed to me the most was Noodler's Black Swan and English Rose, because I really liked that color. But then I thought, 16 ounces. Will I use that in a lifetime? So, and $50. And I just bought, as you saw, a new pen when I was not really planning on buying one. So, yeah, I'm going to forego that pleasure. But I thought it was cool how excited she was. So I put a link to the Noodler's Black Swan and Australian Rose. I didn't see a link to all the inks that are 16 ounces, but you can look around. There were several. My Noodler's Black that I used to use all the time is one of them. The only other thing, well, 2 things came up this week, maybe 3. I wrote at the end of my notes there about mixing and matching the Pilot Custom 823 and the Wing Sung 699. Those parts don't fit. They look a lot alike, but they are not the same. So I may have more parts for future pens. Maybe I need to look for some kind of a pilot body. I'd like to use that fine nib in something. I have a Pilot Custom, is it 793, 743, something like that. Starts with a 7 anyway. But I may have to look for, maybe there's a pen body out there that just crying out for a nib. So we'll see. I'm in no rush to solve it. In the meantime, I can just store it. The pen body I am writing off as a loss, although I kind of think I might keep it just as a reminder to myself. So, yeah, there you go. The other exciting thing that happened to me is several wardrobe malfunctions. Now, I have a few viewers, I think they're mostly Italian, that don't like how I dress for these videos. And, what can I say? I'm a big American slob. I buy clothes. I hate clothes shopping. So I buy clothes and then I wear them until they wear out. And usually past the point where they wear out. So this week I'm line judging a volleyball game because we've got right now 4 cases of the virus in the county. So we're one of the safe counties. So we're able to go on with life sort of as normal. And if you've ever line judged, you're kind of standing in one corner of the volleyball court going, with the flag, and occasionally you have to go touch and all that. Well, it starts to hurt your back. At least it does me. I am on my feet all day because that's my job. Teaching cannot be done from a desk very easily. So I walk around a lot. I get up, I get down, I squat down beside students. I stand up again, walk around some more. I don't do much where you stand in one spot. I did have to have words with one of my freshman classes today, so I did stay in one spot to address them, but You kind of have to do that for those moments because it gives more force to your words. But anyway, standing in one spot to line judge, it just gets painful in your back, or at least my back. I have, well, you don't usually see me walking around, so you don't know, but I have some back issues. And I don't normally notice them except when I'm line judging. But anyway, so I try to like squat down and get up and walk around between sets and whatever, or when there's a timeout. And so I squatted down to kind of stretch my back and get my water, because I always bring water with me, and heard this kind of sound, and it was my pants, and right in the crotch. So luckily, it was between the legs, nobody could see it. I knew it was there, and luckily I was wearing black dress pants and black underpants, so probably nobody would have noticed anyway. But yeah, and then I got home, looked at the pants, and they were so thin there. So I thought, well, that's annoying. Next morning I go to get dressed, not in the black pants because they were done for. By the way, before I get to the other pants, I keep a spare set of clothes in my classroom because I'm a science teacher. I damage clothes. So it's always good to have a backup. So I did, once I had a break between games, I did go and switch pants. The pants that I switched into, they're very faded, but surprisingly tough. But I quit wearing them because they were so faded, they just look bad. But anyway, they wear like iron though. But anyway, so next morning, I woke up about 4:30 in the morning, which is early for me. I'm more of a get up at 5 or 5:30 kind of guy. But anyway, I woke up kind of like in a panic because it's like my feet were tied up. Like, holy cow. And I've had a problem with my back door not locking. I've solved it. I figured out what was wrong. But, for a few days this week, I haven't been able to lock my house. I can now, so don't come trying to break in. You're going to have to break stuff to break in now. But before, all you had to do was push against the back door and it just would come open because it wouldn't latch. But anyway, I felt like my feet were tied up. And you wake up to that and, panic. Well, then I realized that the fitted sheet on my bed, I'd torn a hole in it somehow. Well, when I got home that night, because I really didn't have time to make the bed that morning, I looked at the sheet and I'm like, wow, this is really thin. So luckily I switched between two sets of sheets, so it's not like I had to keep sleeping on them. But yeah, so I guess I've got more covers for my garden when it freezes, except I didn't know it was going to freeze twice this week. So yeah, there's that. But anyway, that morning I took my shower and everything, started getting dressed for school, and putting on my pants, my other pair of dress pants, because I'm down to 2 pairs of dress pants at the moment because of wardrobe malfunctions. And then COVID-19 hit, and like, well, why bother buying more clothes? And I didn't think of it again until this week. I put my foot right through the knee of those pants. So, yeah, that was annoying. So I've ordered some more pants. Luckily, last winter I also had some jeans problems, but I was wearing jeans to teach online, so I had to order more. And to try something new, I bought some twill pants, a brown pair and a black pair, which they're jeans, just kind of different than blue jeans. And so they've been substituting for dress pants since Wednesday. Nobody said anything, so hopefully nobody noticed. But the dress pants should be here shortly. But yeah, I'm just, I love my nice pens. Then when it comes to clothes, I'm like, oh, whatever. I'll wear a tie to work, sure. Car, yeah, she's still running even if she's 20 years old. Let's keep at it till she breaks down on me, which she did this summer, but that's another story. But, yeah, why am I so different in those parts of my world? Even the iPad that I use to run me through that camera, because this iPad's operating that camera. It's an old one. It's like first or second generation iPad. I can't even update it anymore. To be fair, I'm not going to replace it when it finally dies, or if I just can't use it anymore. I have an iPhone. So hopefully I can get the software to run on the iPhone. But anyway, yeah, that was my week. Was 9/11. I was in... Well, it's the 19th anniversary of 9/11. I was probably in my second or third year of teaching. I think my third. Anyway, I had the radio on in the morning, because back then I used to listen to the radio. I don't really listen to it much anymore. But morning news, and as I was getting ready to go out the door, there was a thing came over the news about how an airplane crashed into one of the Twin Towers. And I had pictures of like a little private airplane, because I was going to be dumb enough to crash into the Twin Towers. So I walked to school thinking nothing of it. Got to school, started getting ready in my classroom. That school had it was an old building, had many additions on it. And the original part from the original building, which had burned down, still existed. It was an old gym from ancient times, probably the 20s. My part of the building was from the 50s, and most of the building was from the late 40s. And then there were some additions from, the 80s, and now they have brand new addition. But anyway, so I was walking through the old gym because our teacher's lounge was on the other side of it, and I was getting my morning coffee. And as I'm walking across the old gym, one of my colleagues comes up to me and says, "Did you hear about the Twin Towers?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I heard something about an airplane." She says, "It was a jet." And so I'm like, "Really?" And we walked up. The superintendent had a TV in his office, so we walked up there and walked into his office just in time to see the next one hit the Twin Towers. And wow, yeah, the whole world opened up to me like, whoa. And then you start seeing things falling out of the Twin Towers and realizing that it's people. And, oops, class is starting. Yeah, college didn't cover that one. So, at first I thought, well, they're 8th graders, because when I taught there, I was the entire science department, so I taught everybody from 7th graders up to seniors. I had 8th graders first, and I just thought, well, they're young, they won't know anything about it. So I started trying to teach. Oh no, they weren't having it, So, we talked, I just had a sneaking suspicion, even though I knew nothing. I had a sneaking suspicion it had to do with some Islamic terrorists. Don't ask me why. I'm not prescient or anything. But turned out I was right. So we had a little bit of a talk about what Islam was. Kids in North Dakota surprisingly know very little about other religions, even other Christian denominations. They just don't know much about them. So talked about Islam a little, and then tried to check online. Well, this was actually the first year I had a computer in my classroom. Last week I showed the computer book and showed you what the computer was. Tried to get online, and yeah, all the news websites, you just could not access them. Well, of course. So definitely in a hole there. So yeah, that's definitely a day I'll remember. So we were talking this fall at lunch about events like that. We have one teacher on staff. She was very young when this happened, but knows exactly where she was when Kennedy was shot. And we started talking about things we all remembered. Like, well, I don't remember Kennedy at all. I remember Chernobyl. I remember Challenger. Challenger. We were fourth. I was a 4th grader, and there were 4 sections of 4th grade at my school, because I didn't go to North Dakota for school. And my teacher was very traditional, very strict elderly lady, and we didn't get to do anything fun. But the other 3 classes had been watching the Challenger lift off. And so they had all gathered in one of the other teachers' rooms to watch it. And you know, if you were around then, you remember that was a big outreach to kids in schools and stuff. But our teachers are like, no. And so we always switched classes for math and for reading. So we headed out into the hall to switch for math, and everybody was just sitting in that room, and you know, nobody was coming out for math, and we're starting to wonder, well, what do we do? And she came out and called us back in. I'd never seen a teacher cry before, especially for her to cry. But, you know, when you think about it, to tell a bunch of 10-year-olds what happened with Challenger, and we didn't have math class that day. After tragedy, of course, you always want to have as much normalcy as possible. You know, if you have a student die, you don't, oh, we're going to call off school. No, you, as much as possible, continue as normal because the kids need normal more than ever. Sorry, this is getting me a little emotional. I'm a teacher because I like kids. But anyway, to try and get it back to a happier, well, not happier, but, you know, things we'll remember. That's one we remember. And then, of course, 9/11 came up, and one of our teachers says, well, you know, I think I was in preschool then. Like, I was teaching that, darn you. And then we thought, you know, the next one is going to be COVID-19. You know, it's not a singular event, but it's going to be one of those things like the Depression that we're going to talk about and remember for a long time, and its effects are going to reverberate for a long time. So I'm hoping, you know, I'm 44 now. I'm hoping that's my last big event, and the rest of my life is just kind of a dull nothingness where I just live happily and do my thing. But, you know, it's the real world. Events will happen, so I'm sure there will be more to separate generations. But I guess originally I was going to ask your opinions about switching nibs on the Pilot Custom 823 and the Wing Sung 699, but clearly that's not going to happen. So I suppose instead, maybe I'll ask the question, what's the big singular event that you remember in your life where you can say, I was right there. Whoops. I was right there when this happened. So let us know down in the comments. So I think we managed to be pretty debacle free on this one. Seeing the damage to the Turquoise pen, especially since it wasn't there during pens in use last week, was a little depressing, but we'll get through it. So, as always, I want to thank you for watching. And if videos like this, because I've forgotten to say this little spiel. I also saw that in Stephen Brown's video tonight, that he doesn't like this spiel. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And down below, leave a comment. What is the big event that you remember from your life? So I want to thank you for watching. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.